Welcome, everybody, to another Kicking Tables. We have been looking forward to this interview. Today we have Eric and Shannon Geller, the creators of Quests and Cannons, The Risen Islands. It's quite a mouthful, but it's a great game. We have our preview up. It was up there months ago, but we'll link to it right up there for everybody. Eric and Shannon, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you very much for having us. We're excited to be here.
It's finally nice to meet you both after actually chatting with you guys for months now over this game. But it's finally nice to see you in person. But for those who have not seen our preview, for those who don't know the game, give us an overview of what Quests and Cannons is. What kind of game is it and how does it play?
So Quests and Cannons is a high fantasy on the high seas, competitive sandbox style adventure games. You've got your multiple victory paths. You have open movement on a hex board. You're going to be completing different objectives, exploring hidden islands. You're going to be upgrading a ship that's displayed out in this large dual layered player board. You're going to be firing cannons, of course. You're going to be completing quests
Wow.
Naturally.
So Quests and Cannons has quests and cannons. That's great.
That's true. Yeah.
And what does a round of play look like for a typical round of play look like for the players? What are they doing?
So each round, each player will take one turn, and a turn consists of 3 action points, where you can move, gather resources from an island, or attack another rival ship. So the core actions are very simple, and it's the strategy evolves and how you combine those actions together to the most effectively complete and efficiently complete your objectives.
Right. Awesome.
I just wanted to add to the gameplay portion. Room service. Sorry, we're in a hotel. I just wanted to add to the gameplay stuff that we definitely tried to make it a very accessible strategy. Sorry.
Okay.
We wanted the game to be able to appeal to gamers of different skill levels. So where Eric is a lifelong gamer and has a PhD in gaming and I didn't, we found it difficult to find games that we both could enjoy for obvious reasons, like has to be really strategic and thinky for Eric. And then for me, I need to be able to understand what the heck is going on. So we tried to really balance that out in Quests and Cannons. So hopefully we accomplished it. It seems like by the reviews we have.
Yes.
Yeah, it's so much fun to play, and even the prototype we've had months ago, the quality of it was absolutely fantastic. I'm curious, like, at what point did you get to that level, and how much has it improved since the early version we've played?
It has. We've actually had we actually have some prototypes here, but I think it's going to take a little too long to get out. But we've actually had a good deal of graphic design polish. The quest card layouts, the map clue layouts. I think a notable one with the map clue cards. Now it has the full rule for scoring on every map clue. So that's going to really help with the accessibility. We've added icons to all the ports of interest that key into what kind of port activities you can do at those ports. So that should really help with people not having to internalize, what activities can I do at an outpost, or what activities can I do at a trading post. It's going to be all clearly laid out. Graphic design on the reference cards, and I imagine you remembered the reference cards were still, rough prototype. Now we have nice polished graphic design on those. Well, most of the changes have been graphic design updates. As far as the rules go, where, not much has changed there at all. Slight fine-tuned balance stuff. But pretty spot on from what you played.
Well,
we fleshed that stuff out earlier on with like hundreds of play tests.
Yeah, I want you to talk a bit about your game board, because it's modular. Talk about how did you come up with that idea, and how many have you figured out how many different layouts you could possibly create with it?
So I guess that's the thing that people are. I hear people say often is like, oh, you have a modular board, but how many iterations of it is like, a viable setup?
Right.
So we've come up with, I think, 10 now of the preset layouts for each of the game modes. So we have solo, co-op up to 3 players, 1-versus-1 head-to-head. Then we have you have 2 to 6 player free-for-all, 2-versus-2 teams, 3-versus-3 teams, and 2-versus-2 teams.
Right.
So we have a layout for every player count free-for-all. We have a layout for every player count teams, and then we have the solo layout as well. So those and we set those up to be balanced so that there's symmetry for each starting location and where the islands are. The spacing between the islands is consistent, so that you have more consistent play. But I mean, you can do alternate. We have rule variants for alternate tile laying. You could do completely random setups if you want to get crazy. You can flip the tiles over and it's impassable sea. So now you have you drop islands down. You can play with fewer resources. Like, I mean, it's really versatile in what you can do.
Yeah.
And how you want to tune the play. If you want to reduce combat interaction, then you put stormy seas in more difficult terrain in the middle of the board, so it's harder to cross the board, and then you have less interaction. If you want to make it harder for players to complete quests and then push towards more combat interactions, then you put difficult terrain around the outpost where people are going to be delivering those quests, so it's harder to do that. So there's a lot you can do within that.
Well, let's talk about versatility for a bit, because you have 3 different races or character races in the game. How different are each of them, and what are the different abilities they bring to the player?
So cool news. So we have a flash funding goal. We fund in the first 24 hours. We have a 4th race of characters. We have the question mark characters on those prototypes. So our 4th race of characters are goblins, or turkey goblins. They're awesome. They're this race of kind of like scrapyard artificers, I would say, or kind of like a Magitech artificer. They're really cool. They have prosthetic limbs.
Nice.
Like real turkeys do.
Yeah, exactly like real turkeys do. But all the races are themed around, they have different abilities. Like the Dwani have, a Dwani luck, so they are kind of like a balance. Like they can modify a dice roll, set a dice roll to 6. So that affects movement through the treacherous sea, as well as increasing your damage with cannons. So that's kind of a balanced ability.
Mm-hmm.
And they're kind of more focused around staying power. So some of them have heals, another one has forging ammo in the middle of the sea, and then the other one has increased quest capacity. So they're more around staying power and options.
Okay.
And then you have the delves, which are very much around mobility, movement around the board. And then the porks are more around resources, turning resources into other resources, gaining more resources, that kind of thing. And then the goblins are ramping. They quickly upgrade. They have less health than the other races. They're the only race that has 4 health instead of 5, and they're focused around upgrading their ship. So you can drop loot cards to upgrade your ship with using the loot card as a resource cost instead of the regular resources.
And which one is your favorite? Which one do each of you tend to gravitate towards when you play?
Do you want to go first?
I definitely like the delves. I was going to add to what he was saying that what I really like about the different races and how they play is I think that it appeals to a broader audience, because I wouldn't typically want to play a game that's very aggressive. Mm-hmm. And believe it or not, in Quests and Cannons, you don't need to be aggressive yourself. So you can be aggressed, but you don't have to choose to be aggressive. So I really like the delves because you can move faster with them and it's not necessarily as aggressive. So that's what I like. If someone wants to go cannon heavy and be more aggressive, they can. Sorry, it's really humid in here. Hold on. Okay. If somebody wants to, go aggressive, they can. Or if you want to be, quicker and kind of moving around and plotting, you can do that too. Right. So that's just kind of nice to have that variety. And also the way that we designed the look of the characters, I feel like all different people can relate. Like I can look at a character from each race and be like, that is so me, and they're like way different. So it's cool for that.
Yeah. Eric, what's your go-to race?
I mean, I played Dwani a lot. It's hard for me to pick a favorite because they're all also
They're all your
but,
babies.
honestly, I have been really vibing with the goblins. I like they have such a ability to pivot strategies because of how you can convert to upgrading your ship. That I like that kind of stuff.
Well, you just like it because it's newer.
Maybe I like the novelty. I've played the other ones so much. The goblins.
Well, what are the what's the turkey goblins going to be called? Because you've got your Dwanies, which is your dwarven bunnies. You got your delves, which I think are ducks and elves, right?
Duck elves.
And then your porks are pigs and orcs. So you've got your turkey goblins. What are they going to be? Are they just toblins?
They're called gobblins.
Oh, gobblins. Oh my god.
Gobble, yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Dad jokes abound.
Yep.
So with the game having so many different strategies, when you guys have play tested, did you find that the victors were more the aggressive players or the sort of defensives? Is it quests or cannons? Which one's the one that sort of has turned in the most victories?
So the funny thing about this is that we sent the game out to a fairly large number of reviewers. I think we hit 85.
Wow.
85 different content creators. And the best part about that is that we got feedback saying like, oh, I think the cannons are a little broken. They're like overpowered. The map clues.
It's definitely the map
broken.
clues. Yeah.
The quests are really broken.
It depends on who loses. Like,
I mean, so I feel like that is like a good sign that we balanced it properly. And I mean, we're constantly looking at it to see if there's something we missed or there's something that needs to be tweaked a little bit. And we have been tweaking quest rewards and maybe switching up. We're looking at switching up like some quest destinations to drive more action to the center, to have some of the quests delivered to the train. There's some quests that deliver to the trading post, but I think if we add a little bit more, then it drives players into the middle of the board, and that would increase canon interaction.
You know, there's other people who lose, and only because they say that you can't use two tomes of retribution at the same time.
Listen.
He says you can't do that when
guys.
obviously you can.
That was us. Yeah, we
That's
found
so
the
funny. I
one thing that
remember
had
that.
We
never
actually
happened.
put that in so we updated the rule book. So that's another thing that's different is that we have the new graphic design for the rule book, and we have a frequently asked questions section in the back. And that is one of the frequently asked questions.
Nice.
Thank you guys.
But it wasn't there when I lost, so I'm still not counting that.
So
as,
what is the official
You won,
answer?
buddy. You won.
What is the official answer?
The official answer, and we actually we played this out using another rule as kind of like another example as a precedent to better define this one. So a single event a player can use that for multiple triggers. So you would be able to use both of the tomes of retribution.
Yeah, you can.
And why this, what we finally decided was like, so let's say if the event is a player moving into a space with two players in it. So both that's a single event and two actions off of that single event. So we would want both players to be able to respond to that trigger. And then to be consistent to that, you'd also have to, have it. Right. A single player can play two things on top of that trigger.
We got a really good laugh out of that. I remember he's like, oh, okay, all right.
We actually hadn't seen that happen, so it was fun.
He's like, I need to ask you something. I'm like, what's up? He's like, what do you think about this? Because that's typically how things go. Somebody will come to him and be like, all right, this happened. What do you think? And then he comes to me, and then we argue about it for like, a couple weeks or whatever, until we like come to a conclusion where we're like, all right, this is where we're sticking with it. But when that one came to us, we were like cracking up. Like, what are the odds about it just like happening?
Yeah,
like that?
it's just the perfect storm,
Right?
really, of
Yeah, I was like,
cards and
oh, that
situation.
couldn't have
Yeah.
felt good.
Yeah. Well, he
Yeah, we actually on that we put in a few more frequently asked questions because we know it's like, oh, if I sync my own teammate with Tome of Retribution, do we lose prosperity? The answer is yes on that
Yes.
too. You would lose prosperity. So there's there's situations like that where there's mostly with the loot cards there are probably some more specific interactions that can happen, and we're trying to cover as many of those as possible with the frequently asked questions.
You must have come up with a lot of things that you didn't like, having sent it out to 85 reviewers. You must have heard back of all these different situations that even you didn't find when you were playtesting. And what do you can you
Certainly.
other than the double Tome of Retribution, is there anything else that stands out to you as, wow, I didn't even think that was possible?
I mean, there's some rule misinterpretations that are kind of interesting. There was one with Treacherous Sea where some people played it as if you failed, and this was definitely a wording error because multiple people misinterpreted this. But if you fail the Treacherous Sea roll, you have to continue rolling until you succeed it. So you could like every single time is a push your luck kind of thing with a Treacherous Sea, where if you fail it, you keep rolling, and then like you could sink your ship at like every time you move into a Treacherous Sea. But that's not how the rules intended. But that was one thing that came up, and it's like, ooh, that's
a game changer.
that functionally changes that significantly.
Awesome. So you did change the rules to that new way of doing it then?
No, we didn't.
Oh, you didn't. Okay.
No.
We did not. That's too much. We didn't want that much.
It's too treacherous.
That much luck with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You updated the wording.
Still treacherous, but not that.
Right. That's fair.
So let's talk a little bit about your campaign that's coming up. You mentioned the funding goal for the goblins. Do you have any other stretch goals or anything that you might be able to tease for us?
We do have a big list of stretch goals that hopefully we can smash through all of them. A lot of them are material upgrades. We're looking at like thicker chipboard. We're starting off with pretty thick chipboard, 1.8 millimeter.
Nice.
So those player boards are going to be pretty hefty. I think if we hit the stretch goal on the thicker chipboard, they'll be as thick as the player boards that we sent out.
Okay.
But regardless, they're going to be thick. They're going to be thick player boards. Same size. They're going to have better finish on them. Like the ones we sent out on the prototypes, a lot of the artwork was printed on label paper, so the colors were muted. So you're gonna have
some
fresh
weird lines.
and weird lines on them.
We stuck those on in our basement. So
yeah. It was. I mean, honestly, we could tell it was a homemade prototype, but the quality of the prototype, even for a prototype, was fantastic. Like, kudos to you for doing that. It was absolutely fantastic.
We came up with a pretty efficient method. I mean, we had these big. I'm not doing it justice with my hands right now. It was like 22 inches by 28 inches chipboard sheets that we put under a laser cutter and like put U.S. legal size sticker sheets, like 6 of them across those, so we were able to like pretty efficiently cut out components that way.
There's a lot of peeling and sticking.
It was a lot of work.
I was like 8 months pregnant in our basement, just like putting like 1 million stickers.
Dedicated.
It's like, oh my god.
Wow.
It was like a dungeon.
So what is the stretch goal that you are most hoping to hit? Can you talk about that?
Yeah. I mean, so there's 2 that I want to mention. Is the acrylic standees. That's my favorite. That's one of my favorite ones. We're playing around with a higher stretch goal. If we go up, it's probably going to have to be around like 200,000, which we really hope the momentum's there.
I don't think you have a problem. I honestly don't think you have a problem
here. I don't. It's hard to know at this point, but I it feels good. We've got good marking behind us. Hopefully.
Get to the stretch.
Anyway, so the 200,000 stretch goal that we're thinking about is that if we can go through 200,000 to that, get all those other stretch goals locked, then it opens up room on our player boards for 3 additional characters. And we want to host a tournament where the winners of that tournament can design those characters.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Nice.
that's fantastic.
Awesome. Okay, that's amazing.
I'm excited about an add-on that we have. I don't know if this is the appropriate time to bring it up, but we do we have it in here?
I think so. The tube.
We're not moved in.
Hold on,
Hold on, this is exciting.
I don't think we brought it in. Never mind.
Okay, we didn't bring it in.
Oh,
But-
too bad.
So it is a player mat that can be rolled out with the game board on it. So it's gonna be double-sided, so you have two different setups, like one on each side. But what we really liked about that is, like, if you go camping or you go to a music festival, or if you have a 3-year-old like we do that likes to grab stuff, it's really nice because you can just roll it out. You don't have to have like all the different pieces take up the time for setup. So if you just want to play like a quick game, you can just roll it out.
Amazing. Yeah.
Obviously, you need the other components from the game itself, but you don't have to take out all those.
You don't have to do the
pieces and set it up.
tiles. Setup doesn't take that long, but with a quick play mat, it will take a fraction of the time.
Especially if you were like camping or at a music festival or doing something where you're like outdoors or whatever, or if you have a 3-year-old.
Yeah, you have 3. You have limited time before that child wakes up and destroys your gaming night.
Yeah.
Seriously. Yeah.
Any hopes of like doing like metal coins or anything like that as an up? Yeah.
That's another add-on. We're going to do metal coins.
Nice.
45 metal coins, I believe we're doing.
Those are
45.
awesome.
And then we're going to do custom dice. Right now, looking at like some kind of liquid core custom dice. Have you seen those? They're really cool looking.
Wow.
But we're still finalizing details with manufacturing on those. But the deluxe copy is basically going to be a bundle of those add-ons.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Amazing.
The player mat, the metal coins, and the custom dice.
Amazing. Yeah.
That's
Honestly, you guys, I know so many people who already love the game. I've seen the feedback. I honestly don't think you're going to have an issue crushing your stretch goals. That's my personal opinion.
Well, if we can crush past 200,000, then we'll be on really good track to push directly into the expansion for Quest and Cannons.
Awesome.
Yeah,
that's really exciting.
That's the exciting part because
that's the real stretch goal, I think.
Yeah, definitely. We really wanted to be able to kind of build like a ramp for new players.
Mm-hmm.
So where Quest and Cannons is like lightweight kind of compared to other games, feels a little heavy to me, but it's because I'm a noob. But anyways, we want to be able to just increase, how hard everything is. I don't have good vocabulary right now, so we're really, really tired. We
That's
just set up at the convention and we've been like going crazy for like weeks. But we just want to be able to like build a ramp so people can get into the hobby and be like, all right, I understand these mechanics. That was really great. We've found with Quest and Cannons, like people can be kind of intimidated at first that don't really game as much. And within 3 turns, people are like, okay, I get this. And it's really cool because how you can play, on a team, but you still have your own player board and you're still responsible for your own character, your own ship. It gives people like codependent independence, which is really cool. So it helps to like build people's confidence. And if like someone asked me like, do you want to play this game? I'd be like, I don't know. It's like, oh, we can play on a team. I'd be like, all right. But sometimes with Eric having more skills in it, he would kind of like dominate it. And then I'm like, I'm just like a warm body. So that's what we really wanted to eliminate in Quest and Cannons. Okay. And I've seen people playing where, by a couple turns, like the one person's like, do this, do that. And by turn 3, they're like, I know what I'm doing. Thank you. Like, I'm going to take my own turn. And to see people's confidence just like evolve like that over the course of the game in a pretty short period of time is just really exciting for me to see. And to be able to ramp that up with more skills that will let them just enter into the hobby and, see other games that they're like, I get that, because that's like Quest and Cannons, and that's what I've done with other games. So
that's a huge there. That's your endorsement. That's your endorsement for Quest and Cannons right there.
Yeah.
That's what excites me about it, because I really couldn't game. Like I knew how to play Sorry. I was like a board flipper as a kid. Like it was just like hard for me because Eric played games his entire life, like deck building and all these other things, like terms I never even heard of. And him and his friends would get together and be like, oh, I got this new game and this reference and that reference and this and that. And I'd be sitting there like, I don't know anything more about this game than I did 10 minutes ago, and they're ready to play. So that was a huge bummer for me. And we played, we wound up buying this like Pokemon card, like
Starter set.
Okay.
And I actually wanted to buy it because I love Pokemon. I think they're really cute, obviously. So I was like, we should get this. And it had this like really great spread. Like it was like a fold out piece of paper that you used in place of like a player mat.
Yeah.
And it basically had like turn by turn instructions of what to do. So within a very short period of time, I was like, I get this. This is really cool. And then we started playing Splendor and different games that I was like, okay, I get this now too. This is really cool. And started kind of building my own abilities with it. So with Quests and Cannons, we really thought about those things. And that's what really inspired me with designing the player board, was to create something that really guides a person and feels very intuitive so that they can feel like it's approachable.
That's awesome.
So that was our balance.
Well, Shannon, based on your gaming history, you're going to love this next section then.
Yes, we have our lightning round, board game lightning round questions. So we're gonna fire off
lose.
8 questions. There's no winning or losing.
Monopoly. No, just kidding.
Yeah. So we're just gonna ask 8 questions. Your top answer that comes to the top of your head, we'll get Shannon. We'll get you to answer first for each question, and then Eric. All right.
Just the first.
Don't forget people like that. I have no experience with games.
Yeah. Well.
Sorry. Well, it's pretty easy questions. Game you always win.
Arguing with Eric. I don't know.
Well, that's a given. That came with marriage.
Yeah.
Yes, right. I think that's part of the contract.
Yeah.
I'm pretty good at tic-tac-toe.
There you go. Eric?
Can we do video games too?
Sure, why not?
Super Smash Brothers is my jam. That's a big reason why we are Short Hop Games.
Oh, nice.
All right. Worker placement or area control?
What was the question?
Worker placement or area control.
What's an example? So bad at this.
Let's see.
Worker placement is where you put down pawns to gain resources each turn, and the area control is where you try to stop another player from owning that area in order to make sure that they don't get those resources as well.
I don't think we have a lot of
games like that.
Either of those games in our collection.
So probably neither.
Okay. How about you, Eric? Do you have a preference?
Over those two,
Yeah.
I'm more of a fan of worker placement for sure.
All right.
Okay. Game you most want to add to your collection?
There was like a couple of games I've been wanting recently.
You were saying Everdell, I think.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, definitely that. For sure. There was another one though. I really like puzzly thinky games.
What was it? Is it Cascadia, or is it the new one that from Flat Out Games?
Yeah,
we like Calico a lot.
Calico is like my jam. We couldn't believe how thinky that game was.
Yeah, we were really surprised how thinky. Like I saw it and I was like, oh, this is gonna be a nice lightweight. Approach, and it was like way thinkier than I thought.
It's actually like really good for challenging your brain because you have to be like thinking about like all aspects at one time, which I like. It keeps you really stimulated.
Keeps you paying attention the whole time.
Yeah, that's one of the games I haven't played yet, but I really want to play it.
It's great.
It's super fun. I really like that.
Yeah,
game.
they nailed it.
Definitely.
Okay. All right. Legacy games. Destroy the components or preserve them?
Preserve. So
yeah.
I'm answering out of turn, but
that's okay.
We're both into keeping things pretty nice. Shannon more so than I am.
Definitely more so.
So destroying it's kind of like
destroying means you left him on the table when your 3-year-old was in the room.
Yeah, I mean yeah, he's a legacy game.
All right. Game you love but always lose.
I don't really like to play games I lose. I'm not a good loser, I'm being honest.
I hear you.
I'm just keeping it real.
I lost this game. Man, I hate this game.
Yeah, that's like back to Quest and Cannons. That's what I like though, is that there's no runaway winners. Like I don't mind losing as long as I don't get stomped. You know what I mean? Like in Quest and Cannons, most of the time, like nobody gets stomped. You're like a turn or two away, and there's no ownership of anything. It's like free for all, like the whole time is what it feels like. But a game that we lose.
I mean, I lost pretty soundly at Calico.
Yeah,
You were
nice.
consistently beating me at Calico.
I avoid games I lose. Eric plays games with me that he knows I'll win. Bad.
All right. Well, last question. This is not necessarily board game related, but sort of in the realm. But science fiction or fantasy?
That's tough.
So I actually my favorite is like a Magitech fantasy. So it's like when you combine your science fiction and your fantasy together.
Yep,
that's my jam.
That's Star Wars.
Yep. I agree with that. Voltron, the new Voltron series. I guess it's not that new anymore. I love that.
We blacked out for a couple of years having kids.
She-Ra, Princess of Power. That show was lit. I really enjoyed that one. That kind of theme really tickles me.
I feel like I kind of like a mix too, because I like stuff like Avatar, like not just Avatar: The Last Airbender, the Avatar with the blue people.
That would be
James Cameron's Avatar.
Yeah, that would be science fiction.
Yeah. And I like Avatar: The Last Airbender. I like Sailor Moon. I really like the Powerpuff Girls, like a lot. So
awesome.
Probably fantasy.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, that pretty much brings us to the end of this episode of Kicking Tables. But before we let you go, what do you really want people to know about Quests and Cannons, and why should they go ahead and back this game?
I want to say something.
Do you want to start?
Yeah. I just want to say that Quests and Cannons is really, like, our goal with it is to really have created like a really inclusive game for like people with different skill levels, like different backgrounds. We really tried when we designed the characters to make them relatable to all people, so that like anyone could look at a character and be like, man, I can relate to that character, like regardless of where you come from or anything like that. So it's very inclusive, and even if it looks intimidating, like give it a shot, because I think that people would be pleasantly surprised at how approachable it is, but also like how stimulating it is too, because it is like, it does have that Calico vibe that you're multitasking like crazy. And I feel like where people think like, oh, Quest and Cannons might be lacking, is if they don't have the adaptable strategy piece. Like, you have to have an adaptive strategy with Quest and Cannons, which is really great because it challenges you as a person. Like, I like to be very one-track minded once I get on some plan of mine, and I'm stubborn, but like, you have to be like, all right, let go or be dragged. Like, if I keep going on this path, I'm gonna lose. So you have to let go and then just try to adapt to a new strategy. And I don't know, I think it's like, just give it a shot. I think people, and hope people will really like it.
I think people will. Definitely people will like it. We loved it. Check out
it was a great game.
Check out our preview of it. Check out the 80 some odd other previews already out there.
There's going to be a lot more coming out real soon.
But Eric, Shannon, thanks so much for joining us this episode. And I don't think you need it, but good luck with the campaign. We'll be following it with bated breath.
We'll take all the luck we can get.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you so much.
I don't think you'll have a problem. We loved it, and I think everyone else will. So thanks again for joining us.
Sorry for being sleepy. It's been a long day.
It's all right.
This is a lot of fun. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It was great meeting you.
Great
You
meeting
too.
Thank you so much for watching today. We hope that you come to
the Quest and Cannons Kickstarter, launching September 21st.
And please do us a favor and subscribe below to OMG Nexus. Check out what they got to do. You won't regret it. That sucks.